Welcome to Talk with Olena podcast. And today I really want to tell you 100% transparently what I think about providing services for DIY applicants. And I'll tell you my three reasons why 1 year ago, in the beginning of 2025, our immigration practice completely stopped offering services for DIY applicants. Now, just a little bit of background. Previously, I used to offer PR application review services for express entry, for spousal sponsorships, and my team has been doing those reviews for years and years and years. And beginning of 2025, we stopped that. So, in this episode, I want to tell you exactly the three reasons why we stopped doing that, and I want to tell you just in general, what do I think about providing services for DIY applicants? Okay, so I'm sure that you've seen so many RCICs providing services and trying to really cater to DIY applicants. And I'm sure you've seen, the one-off sessions RCICs trying to, or reviewing, providing the services of review PR applications or any other kinds of applications. Those sessions are usually anywhere from like $500 to $1,000 for 1 to 2 hour session. And those services are actually in high demand. I'm sure you've been thinking yourself, like, should I start doing that? Or maybe you already are doing that and you've seen demand. I'm sure you see all the times your clients asking you, how much is going to be for review? How much do you charge for your review? How much do you charge for a review? We receive these direct messages and emails every day. At least every day we have 5, 6 people asking us this question. And yet we don't offer that service, which I'll tell you exactly why in a bit. I'm sure you've been, thinking about, is it me or demand for DIY is growing? Because it really certainly feels like people, applicants, people who are applying for permanent residence, they seem to be interested in services for DIY more and more and more, meaning that more and more people want to do their application by themselves, their immigration applications, right? And a lot of RCACs are almost feeling a bit angry about that, almost feeling like, so what, you don't need us anymore, right? And that, all those feelings and thoughts may be going through your head right now, because truly we've seen a big shift towards do-it-yourself review services and do-it-yourself demand, right? And that's the reality of the market. We see all the time the immigration content on YouTube, on Instagram, on TikTok, on LinkedIn, on every single platform, immigration content that actually empowers applicants to do their applications themselves, and that access to information, access to ChatGPT, access to AI, that empowers people to do their application on their own. Is it bad or good? I feel like there are two camps of RCICs here, and there are RCICs that truly, and immigration lawyers that are truly trying to really take advantage from a business side of things, of trying to generate some business opportunities. We've seen some new softwares being created and new startups, new apps being created to cater to DIY segment of the immigration market, and that segment grows and grows and grows, right? So those startups are appearing in our market not for no reason. They are catering to the growing market, to DIY applicants, and you may be feeling really tempted to really lean towards DIY, to offer hold your hand service, like a lot of our CACs are offering, to really, really help people to file on their own. Now, all of that being said, and all of that, kind of being felt throughout the last couple of years, and all of that demand that we've seen, Well, that does not really go well together with our decision completely stopping DIY services, stopping our services that are catered to DIY applicants, stopping reviewing PR applications that were prepared by individuals. So, why is that? What are the reasons, despite all the market trends? And trust me, I'm the number one person who is going to take advantage of new trends, who's going to really ride the wave, right? And I've been riding that wave previously. So why did I decide that our business, that my business, is not going to provide those services anymore? So those are three reasons. And reason number three, by the way, is, in my opinion, the most important reason why we truly stop this. So let's go quickly through those reasons. I'm going to keep this episode super short. All right. So reason number one is why we stopped DIY review services. So we previously, as I mentioned, used to do sessions. So we used to charge, I believe, about $900 for 2 hours review. It used to be share screen review. The person would book the service. It's essentially, it's a consultation service. It's just during this 2 hour window, we're not really consulting with regards to the strategy of immigration. We're consulting with regards to whether their application is being put together correctly, right? So we're sharing screens, we're reviewing documents, we're reviewing portals, and we're helping the person who completed their express entry or spousal sponsorship application on their own. We're just telling them essentially what needs to be fixed, right? So we're seeing what has been prepared. We're telling them what needs to be fixed. $900 in 2 hours sounds like a pretty sweet deal, right? So reason number one why we discontinued that is because ultimately, when you are operating business with that specific service and you are RCIC, you have to be RCIC or immigration lawyer in order to get on that call and provide this service, right? You're the only one who can do it. You cannot ask, your admin assistant or any kind of assistant to do that. It has to be RCIC or immigration lawyer. So because you're doing that, you're essentially trading time for money, right? So you trading your 2 hours of time for $900. And that is absolutely fine until you reach certain point. So I always say that DIY services, offering those services, is the best suited for RCICs who already have like some decent experience, so who already been practicing for a year or two maybe, but they haven't scaled much. They haven't scaled to the point when it stopped making sense trading time for money. So usually RCICs who have been practicing 2 to 4 years, so between 2 years and 4 years, in that range, that's when it makes the most sense for them to provide DIY services. Why? Because trading 2 hours for $900 or for $800 at that stage, usually it's actually financially making a lot of sense. And financially, it's a pretty sweet deal. Now, the problem with that, it becomes a problem when you start getting a bit more volume and you start scaling your business, because you cannot possibly scale that, right? How many reviews you're going to do a week, right? But you have other jobs to do as well, right? You probably have some full representations that you handle and you have business to run. So how many reviews can you do per week? And at some point, charging $400 per hour for a review, or even if it's $500 per hour for a review, that actually becomes the point when you start losing money. Simply because you cannot scale more than how many reviews you're going to do? 4, 5 per week. That's probably the most any RCIC can handle, right? And at some point, that stops making financial sense, because what you will realize when you scale your business, and that's what my mentees in my business container program was realizing, is that some of them actually had to stop providing review service because what they realized is the cost of their hour is more than 4 or 5 or 6, whatever, $100. That in that hour, if they do something that is related to full representation, they will actually make more money in that hour, right? And that's something that can be scaled more because you can handle multiple full representation cases at the same time when you really cannot do that with reviews. So reviews make absolute sense for a lot of RCICs, to be honest, but up until the point. Up until the point when financially it doesn't move your business forward, right? Because again, full representation can be scaled. Reviews, it really cannot be scaled. And that's the main really reason why, when you are at the point when you understand that $900 or $1,000 or whatever it is, or even if you've charged $1,500 for 2 hours, when that stops becoming a deal, like it stops making sense to you financially, because you're like, okay, I spent just 2 hours, I got my $900, but actually what I should have done, I should have spent those 2 hours on submitting these 3 representation cases and possibly generating $10,000, right? So that's a trade-off, really, because you cannot scale review services. Now, that being said, it really, really depends. What is your vision about your business? Some RCICs, they really don't want to do full representation, then absolutely do reviews. Absolutely. Some RCICs are, as I mentioned, are in a position when reviews make absolute financial sense because, let's be honest, it's a highly, highly profitable way to spend your 2 hours, right? So if you are in one of those groups, then yeah, it may make sense for you. Now, the reason number 2 why we stopped providing PR review sessions for DIY applicants is basically we tested. So what happened last year? So full transparency here. Last year, January, February, we had like a lot of consultations. Like we had about, at that time, we don't do it anymore, but at that specific time, we were ramping things up in terms of consultations. We had about like 15 consultations per week. And a lot of consultations were asking Corey, so that's another RCIC that works for me. I don't consult anymore, so another RCIC consults. And he was saying like, look, I'm doing 15 consultations per week, and half of the consultations end with a question. So how much do you charge for review services? And at that time, we were still providing review services. So Corey would always say, okay, so there are 2 options how you can work with us. Option number 1 is full services. For full services, we charge starting from $4,500 plus HST, but we can quote you on that in your email. And then option number 2, we provide review services. And for review services, we charge $900 for 1 review session. But in that situation, we're not providing any sort of representation. And, it's up to you basically to make sure that you're submitting good application and you're doing everything correctly. We just review things, right? So Corey would give those 2 options to people, and in literally like 9 out of 10 cases, the person would be like, okay, I'll do it myself and then I'll come for review. So Corey was like, I feel like every time I give them these 2 options, it's 9 out of 10 people tell me like it's going to be full review, and then they disappear, and maybe they book review in the future, maybe they don't, but then they just go, right? And they go and work on their PR application, which is totally fair from client point of view. That's nothing wrong with that. Totally fair. Now, so what we tested, we sat down and we said, okay, let's just test it for 1 month. Let's like literally record how many responses we get towards like review service and full representation. And let's like literally test the grounds and see how many responses we get for full representation if we actually remove review, and every time that people ask how much is a review, what happens if we would say, oh, we don't provide reviews? If that impacts the number of service agreements that we get for full representation or no. So, because I have to be transparent with you, previously, like 3, 4, 5 years ago, it didn't really matter. Like, people who wanted full representation, they would just go for full representation. People who wanted DIY, they would just do DIY with or without me. And it really didn't matter if I offered review services. It didn't seem to swing the numbers away from full representation. Now, last January, February, we did this full experiment when we actually recorded data. We recorded data on like how many people that we offer full representation and review services would go for full representation, and how many people that we offer full representation and no review services, which is say we don't do it, will go for full representation. And we recorded data. So during January, we offered both and full representation and review. And during February, we stopped offering review and we started offering only full representation. And we actually recorded numbers. And guess what? The difference was crazy. Now, all of a sudden, out of 10 conversations that we were having about quotation, when Corey would say that our full representation starts from 4,500, and the person is like, what about review? And Corey would say, oh, sorry, we don't provide review services. The half of people, like out of 10 quotes, the half would actually say, oh, you guys don't do review? Well, yeah, then send me the quote for full representation. And we send them a quote and they go for full representation, meaning that the market has shifted from what it was 5 years ago. And now and I don't know about you, I don't want to talk about really like if that's the same in your business, but I really want to tell you that that is our like objective numbers and objective experience, is that by removing review services for DIY applicants, we actually increased our conversion rate. How many people actually retain our services for full representation? We increased that. Previously, basically, the person who would have gone for full representation, he or she was going for a review just because we had it available. And that was a huge wake-up call for me, is that we should not assume that things that used to be 5 years ago, because 5 years ago, it was not like this. 5 years ago, people would hire for full representation, no problem. People who wanted review services, they would do DIY with or without you, right? And for me, it was a wake-up call, is that market changes, market shifts. And right now, basically, yeah, people would always go for review services if you have that option. If you don't have that option, part of those people, some of those people will retain you for full representation, meaning that for our business, and I'm speaking about our experience, it was absolutely the case that by offering review services, we lowered the number of retainer agreements that we got. So that was the reason number two. Reason number two basically was the fact that by offering review services, we lowered the number of retainer agreements. Therefore, we lowered our sales number. So yeah, maybe I earned extra $900 here, but I lost $3,500 or $4,500 here. And that was what was happening. So that was the reason number two. And reason number three is really all it comes down to is that what is the point, or what is the agenda on your plate in terms of your work? What do you want to do? Because you see, from reason number two, you already kind of learn about us, is that we value full representation services more than DIY services. Well, the thing is that that is how we like it. That's how, and I asked Corey, I'm like, okay, Corey, what do you prefer more, like as a preference? Do you like handling full representation cases more or reviews? And Corey said, oh, I hate reviews. I don't like doing them. He just doesn't like that. And he 100% of the times would prefer full representation. That's why, as I explained in, reason number two, is that our whole goal, our agenda was to increase full representation cases, right? So when we figure it out is that, oh, if we remove review services, that increasing full representation services, that was no brainer because that's exactly what we want. Now, the thing is that what I want is not what you want. What Corey wants is not what you want, right? So you got to figure out, what do you want? What do you like? Do you like review services? Do you want to make an income? Because you can make like $160,000 per year. That's what I've seen, and that's what actually I've had experience a while ago. I was focusing on DIY services. I've had experience on making 100,000 plus on DIY services. You can do it. You can make up to $160,000 depending how much you charge and what demand you have and all that and what you're marketing. But you can make like good money, right? Like $160,000. That's good money, and you don't have to touch a case in your life. You don't have to do any full review services. If $150,000, that's what makes you happy with providing, 4, 5, 6 review service sessions per week, then absolutely you can do it. If it makes you happy. So the question is if it makes you happy, because for Corey, the answer is no. For me, the answer would be no. I don't want to trade my time for money, but again, it's not a right or wrong. That's a matter of preference. As I mentioned, I had a period of time, about 1 year in my life, when I wanted actually to trade my time for money. I was doing like about 6 sessions per week. And that year, I forget now, but like 120-ish thousand dollars I made just on that. I never represented that year anyone. I never touched the case. So, and that just was good because I honestly needed a break. I needed to have a break from full representation. And I love consulting. I love, as you can say, talking. So that aligned with me. But it doesn't align with Corey, right? He wants full representation. So the main question is, what do you really want? Right? Do you want to have full representation cases? Do you want scalable immigration practice? Do you feel like your immigration practice should grow? Do you want to have assistant? Because that's already like full representation cash flow probably would be needed to have an assistant. What do you see your operations? Now, another thing is, and that's the most important one, is the impact. What kind of impact are you making on your client's life with review services versus full representation services? And I'll explain what I mean. Partially, so reason number three, really, of why we stopped doing that is because we know express entry points are high, right? 1 year ago, January, February, it was like 530, 520, I think, plus. And to achieve for a regular applicant, express entry applicant, the points, they would need to have multiple foreign experiences, multiple Canadian experiences. And the cases were a little bit more like volume, like complicated in the sense of like, there's a lot. Like I need to review in 2 hours. I need to review 5 employment letters. I need to see like all. So it started being actually pretty difficult to really do a truly good in-depth job in 2 hours. Now, not impossible. It's just it required a bit more like focus and energy. And what we noticed is that also because Corey didn't really enjoy it, what we noticed is that, look, this is by the end of the day is not delivering the result to the client that it's not our zone of genius. Okay, so this is a good way to put it. We still did a great job. We provided amazing service, but we felt like they would have gotten so much better protection, so much better results, so much better service in terms of their case if it was a full rep. Because not because we're good or bad at it, but truly is because full representation is our zone of genius. This is what we're really good at. This is what we excel at. Review, don't get me wrong, we're good at reviews, but with cases becoming more complicated, we felt like it's almost in some cases would be unethical to like just okay 2 hours, like let's go, let's review everything, when we really, like, if you ask me honestly, like what this person really needs, I would say honestly, like what you really need is just somebody to take this case and fix it up properly for you, because I can see that you cannot do it. I can see that things are not going to go well here. And really, like from an ethical business point of view, I felt like some those complicated cases, it's almost we're doing disservice to people by providing them review services that really it's not what these people need. These people just book reviews because they want to save money, right? They want to pay less. That's why they booked a review service. When in reality, I see the job that they did in that application, and I'm like, it's just not good. Like it's not, and I cannot, like 2 hours is not enough to fix it all up, right? So I felt like I'm doing disservice, or Corey is doing, and we tried our best to do it, but really we're like, okay, like just give me the case. Like just give me the case. Like just pay these, extra $4,500 to really like get things done properly and get your PR, right? And this is how we felt. Now, this can be not the same case for you. It doesn't mean that you have the same experience, but what I want to prompt you and I want to encourage you to do is to think, what is your zone of genius within this work, within your practice? That can be consulting, that can be reviews, that can be, I have a lot of RCICs whose zone of genius is truly reviews, right? And that's them. But this can be full representation, this can be marketing, this can be business management, this can be team leadership. Like, what is your zone of genius? And that is very important to understand that, because if you are doing reviews only because you're pressured by, but everybody wants it, if only because you feel like other consultants or lawyers doing it, it's not a good, I just don't think it serves you well to do reviews or DIY services only because you feel circumstantially forced to do them. Because ultimately, the only one question you should rule when you do business is how I can help this client the best. If the answer is review, sure, do review. If it meets your business goals, revenue goals, lifestyle goals, and you like them, absolutely. But if the answer to what you need to give this client to deliver the best impact to them, the best result, how you can help the client the best, if the answer is full representation, then you should be doing full representation. And do not listen to anyone that says reviews, everybody just wants DIY, people don't have money, people don't want to pay. We're having the best year. 2025 was a very good year for my practice. 2026 is going to be the best year for my practice. And we do not cater to DIY applicants. We do only full representation. We don't have a large team. We do a boutique immigration practice, boutique services, super high level, high excellence, high level, high excellence services to our clients, because this is how we can help them the best, because that's how we work. It doesn't mean that you have to work that way, but the reality is that we don't provide DIY services and we're fine. And 2026 will be better, even better, even though 2025 was pretty good, better year. There are people who would love to work with you in terms of full services. So don't make your business decisions from point of fear, right? That, oh, people just want DIY. That's not true. I have a lineup out the door of people who want our full services. And it's just a matter of the fact to figure out what you are good at, what's your zone of genius, how do you want your work lifestyle look like, how do you want your everyday life look like, how many hours do you want to work, what that work looks like. Do you like full wrap? Are you good at it? Do you like reviews? Are you good at it? Right? Figure out your revenue goals. Figure out, what do you want your business to look like, and go from there. And how you can help your clients best. At some point, how you can help your clients best. That was the breaking question when we had to stop our full services. Had to stop our DIY DIY services. I hope we'll never stop our full services because we are very good at it. All right. Well, I hope that was helpful. And just a little disclaimer that I'm actually all for DIY services and all for DIY work with clients. And I did my immigration myself. There are many people who do applying for PR on their own, and absolutely rightfully so. They should be applying on their own if they can do it properly, right? But there are many people who cannot do it properly. There are many people who need help. So we need to help those, right? So it's not really that people who want to file their PR themselves are bad. They're not bad. Yeah, I did it myself. I'm sure you did it yourself. You became an RCIC. You probably filed your PR on your own. Are you bad? No. Those people are great. It just means they don't need your services, and that's fair. Not everyone will need your services. Not everyone needs your support, truly. But there are hundreds of thousands of people who do need your services and do need your support, and they will unfortunately screw up their immigration if they don't have access to really, really hands-on support. That's why our jobs exist. So don't let bad thoughts come in your mind is that, like everybody wants DIY. It's not really true. You just need to be very firm on what you offer and how you can help your clients the best while meeting your business, revenue, and life goals. Okay, well, thank you so much for listening to this episode. And if you ever have any questions or just want to say hi, you're more than welcome to slide into my LinkedIn messages. I'm always happy to connect with RCICs. Looking forward to the next episode. And thank you so much for listening.